Imagine it's a Monday morning and you don't want to go to the office just because that you do not want to see the face of your boss. Because every time when you go there, you find that he's either finding fault in you or he's outbursting very often. He's micromanaging you. And not only that, you also know that if you do not take his permission or you do not involve him in certain decision, he's likely to get upset very soon. And imagine it's a Monday morning and you really love to go to the office. You really want to work and give more than your normal energy, time, effort to ensure that you work towards achieving higher productivity, to ensure that you and your manager and your company and team achieves most on everyday basis. There is one thing that is missing between these two personalities. And that one thing I say is called emotional intelligence. Now, imagine if you are a manager and if you are a manager as per the first scenario, how your team is coordinating with you, gelling with you, bonding with you. I'm sure there would be definitely many, many gaps just because people who lack emotional intelligence, they do not gel well with their team, with people, because they do not listen, they do not understand their people, they do not know how to manage their emotions. While in the case two, people who are at leadership positions, they have high level of empathy, they understand people very well, they listen to them very well, and basis that they also know and have good awareness about their own self emotions. How do they carry themselves, how much they speak, how loud they speak or how soft they speak, they are able to identify. Well, my name is Arun. I am a leadership coach. And today I decided that I'm going to cover this very, very important and pertinent topic on emotional intelligence, which is one of the jewel in the crown of leadership. That means if you call yourself a leader, then being emotionally intelligent is going to be the most important and relevant piece in your leadership journey. That means that all successful leaders at any place, at any workplace, are successful because they have taken a good control on their emotions and they use their emotions very intelligently at the right time, at the right pace, and the right with right set of people. So today, what we are going to learn is that how emotional intelligence in leadership can help in not only bonding well with your team, but ensuring that people are committed to do even more than what they are currently able to. It helps in improving the productivity of the organization, good engagement of your teammates, and most importantly, a good relationship between boss and peer. This is something that I really want you to look into it when you have to work on emotional intelligence. So let's get there. Let's understand what are the characteristics or what are the features that make somebody an emotionally intelligent person. So as I said, emotional intelligence in simple word means how do you keep a check on your emotions, your behaviors, the way you speak, the way you talk to people, and also about how do you understand people around you, how do you understand their emotions. And if can create a balance, that shows that you have the intelligence to manage emotional intelligence, and that's how it's a key for high performance. Now, let's look at some of the characteristics, what it takes to be an emotionally intelligent leader. Number one, and the foremost, and my favorite, is empathy. When it comes to do's and don'ts, very carefully try to seek to feel others. I think, let me give you an example. Let's say you have not completed a report just because yesterday there was no electricity at your house. And you might have committed to your boss that you will complete the report come what may. And unfortunately, due to certain circumstances, you could not do. Now, next day morning, you reaches your office, your boss fires you left, right, and center and says that you had committed. Now, if that is the situation, it is going to be lack of empathy. And I think that is what, when people do not understand the challenges at the other side, and they become very arrogant and they become very demanding or they become very management, at that time, the relationship between two individuals is only transactional. That means there is no bonding, there is no emotion between them. So people do only what is relevant and what is required, and that's all. They don't go beyond their current capacity. And if you feel about others and if you have that empathy, then you will see the magic that how people are going to work with you. What is the don't in empathy is don't make assumptions or even try to make any assumptions. So when you start making assumptions, I'm sure he's a lazy guy, he's not able to do it. I think he always does like this. He always has an excuse in his hand. Then you start making assumptions that shows that you are only talking to the people as work, and people are not work, people are not machine, they are human beings. So it's important to have that level of empathy by knowing and getting into their shoes and understand where their challenging their challenges are. Sometimes it could be that they are not competent, they are not trained on a particular area, and you assume that they can do the job just because they have accepted the job. It's your job to see and go to that brick level and see that whether they really understand what they are expected to deliver. That is where it only happens when you see empathy. Second, self-awareness, how your actions are perceived by others. Now, if you have a high level of self-awareness, you should have that sense that, am I arrogant? Am I sounding too loud? Am I sounding too impatient? Am I sounding something that is always on the head of people, knacking on their head or breathing on their neck? If that is the case, then have that kind of self-awareness and try to improve yourself rather than being arrogant, selfish, or think above critic. This is something that you should never do, because a lot of people feel that they are at a leadership level. Let's say you are the top man in the organization, and whatever you say, you feel that people have to accept this. I don't have to improve. That's because I'm above all. I think that's where your end starts, because arrogance leads to a lot of challenges when people do not want to change. And when people do not want to change because the people do not want to listen. And when they don't listen and they don't change, their downfall starts. So have that high level of self-awareness to make it possible. The third do is give feedback. Now, what are the best practice that a lot of successful leaders use is they give feedback, and they give honest feedback, and most importantly, they give timely feedback. If you don't give somebody a timely feedback, there is always a chance that somebody may think that person is doing right. So the best part is sit with that person, give them a very candid and open feedback that how you can do better, or if you have done better, you should you should do much better ahead of it and do more of it. And these kind of timely feedback motivates people or brings a check in there if they are not on the not on the right side. But at the same time, what is the don't delay the feedback and don't keep people in dark. A lot of time leader says that, okay, I think he has to perform more, only then I will do it. And then the time is lost. The person who needed that motivation at that spot, maybe a simple word of appreciation, is lost. You think that it will happen after 3 days or maybe in 3 months time I'll do it. That will be too late. So think about, have you motivated anyone recently or in the as recent as last week? Think about this, and basis that you try to build up how you can increase their competency level. So don't keep people in dark and you keep them guessing what my boss is saying. These are the signs of that people lack emotional intelligence. They don't connect with people as human beings. Motivation, as I just mentioned, take initiative and find your own strengths. Find out where you are good at and try to replicate it more often. Let's say somebody is very good in bringing the team together. Do it more often. Try to be in an create an open and transparent culture where people can give feedback to you. And likewise, catch people doing wrong things. One of the habits of a lot of leaders is, if suppose they become biased, if they feel that this person is not good by whatever experience they had, they start catching people doing wrong things, and which is a very bad practice. If I start catching you only doing wrong things, what will happen? My motivation will go down, my way of creativity will go down, because I always think that somebody is sitting on my back to find out what I'm doing wrong. And that's where your emotional intelligence is going for a toss. Rather than sit with that person and say, even if you make mistakes, don't worry, do 10 more mistakes and I'm not going to tell you anything. But after you understood, try to don't repeat the same mistake. That's the way you should give that confidence. Because if people don't make mistakes, how will they learn? If you as a leader had not made mistakes, how did you learn? Somebody had must have instilled that confidence in you. You go out, you try out, even if you fail, no problem. And that's where your motivation will go and your teammates' motivation will go to the next level. Think about it. And that's where people work for people. It's not about people work for the job that they have got. They work for your manager. They work with their boss very closely. So treat them as human beings. Next is we have to also learn diplomacy in becoming emotionally intelligent. Let me give you an example. I recently spoke to a leader at a very senior level, and he said that, I'm very straightforward. I don't beat around the bush, and I tell person very upfront, very straightforward. If it is bad, if it is bad, bad. If it is good, good. And that's where he's right on his part. But what he's lacking is that somebody is emotional, how to take care of their emotional outbursts, how to take care that if people go into their shell. So what is the best practice? Find a common ground and lead with mutual respect. It's a mutual respect. It's not that if I'm the boss and you are my subordinate, I can tell you anything or anytime. Now you see what happens when that happens. People, when they see this pattern is emerging every time that you go and fire them, and there is no mutual respect, people leave you. Or people will ensure that then the next moment they leave, they will give you a message back that how harsh you were on them. And that's what the people in such situation, the attrition rate is very high in such departments in the organization. What is the don't be straightforward or use insensitive language. Some people become abusive or their body language looks like that you have done a crime. Their body language is not welcoming. Their body language is people are pushed back. They don't want to go into the chamber because they know the moment they will go, they will be caught doing wrong things. So the manager becomes a micromanager and they fear taking risk. They have the fear of failure. If in an organization there is a fear of failure in the department, it shows that there is a lack of emotional intelligence in that leadership team. Think about it if this is happening to you. Now let's look at what else can happen. Another area is conflict resolution. One of the best practices all good leaders have is they ensure that if there is any conflict, they solve it. So what are the do's here? Lean into conflict. Get there. Find out what is the conflict. Don't delay it, because if a conflict is not resolved, it becomes a dispute. So before it becomes dispute, it is your job as a leader to get into and find out that how you can solve the conflict and find out amicable solutions. And for that, you have to bring listening. You have to listen to party one, you have to listen to party two, think about the options arising and help in resolving the conflicts. And that is one of the very important role of a leader. But if at that time you are biased, you only think from one angle, you're gone for a toss. So bring that emotional intelligence, even if there is a weak player on your side, but if he or she has a point, give a proper listening, unbiased listening, unjudgmental listening, and then see what are the facts coming in and solve that. But what you should not be doing is avoiding these difficult situations. People who are poor in emotional intelligence, they run away from this situation. They say that either their boss will do or they will solve themselves. If that starts to happen, people will not look up to you, because then why the hell are you a manager or a leader there? You are here to solve and take these situations head on. But if you avoid and leave it to somebody else, you are creating a situation to become explosive one day. So think about it, that how you are going to work on conflict resolution to become emotionally intelligent. Then comes emotional control. A lot of people have got this outburst. They don't realize that where they are sitting and whom they are talking, any small situation, they become insensitive. They just start outbursting in their language, in their words. Their tone goes high, they become harsh, or they become sarcastic. So, what are the things that you need to do? You have to maintain composure and take a step back in charged situation. Many a times, in my personal experience, if the situation is so very charged, I personally say that, okay, I'll get back to you, or I remain quiet. Quiet does not mean that I cannot handle the situation or conflict, but because it's a charged situation where the opposite party is highly agitated. Until and unless both parties don't come down or calm down, the real solution will never come. In a heated argument, the only thing that happens is emotional outburst. You start yelling at the other person starts yelling at you, and then nothing happens. Therefore, don't get defensive or make hot-headed outbursts. If you also do the same thing, then there is no difference. Then why you are there for a leader? Leader is kept to keep things calm, keep things focused, keep things directional, keep things ahead. But if you do like this, you are no different than any other person who creates more noise than the content. So look at your emotional control. Then comes the emotional awareness. What is emotional awareness? Pay attention to others' body language, moods, and reactions. Not just you have to keep a check on your moods and your reactions, but you have to also keep an eye on the others' body language. And then you have to communicate accordingly. So behave according to the situation. And if it is a chart situation, take a step back. And what is the don't? Don't fail to adjust based on explicit or implicit feedback. A lot of time I've seen that if a leader is given a feedback by their juniors or their peers, they can't take it. How can somebody say something like this to me that I don't listen? How can somebody say to me that I am a micromanager? I do a lot of things. They get defensive. And when they get defensive, they do not take the feedback as a gift. Rather, they take and they become judgmental that why this person, on which situation they thought about it, and they start overthinking. And overthinking leads to anxiety, confusion, and emotional outbursts. So don't do that. Take feedback as feedback and understand that what people are telling you, accept that feedback and work on it. And that's where the next point is: feed forward. If you really want to grow as a leader and to become an emotionally intelligent leader, the first thing that you should do is ask how you can do better. Talk to your peers, talk to your boss, talk to your juniors, and every month go and tell them, sit with them and tell, can you tell me one or two things that you feel that I can do and I can get better? And that's where you should work on it. You should make a list of those inputs. That's something people are ready to give you gift. And that is what we call it as feed forward. Always encourage feed forward in your team, for yourself and for your boss. But do not neglect acting on it. If a feed forward is given, if suppose somebody says that you don't delegate tasks, you just take everything on your own and you don't work on it and you don't develop your team where you can delegate some task to somebody who is really developed and a mature person, then people will not give you any feed forward because you are not open to listen. You're not open to act. And that's where when you are not open, that means you are very stubborn, you are hard, and that doesn't and that takes you away from being an emotional intelligent person. Next is mindfulness. You should be thinking very clearly that what is the common ground to lead with mutual respect and straightforward. So be mindful of people around you and see that what they are really behaving, and again give respect to people in that segment. Now let's take ahead. Adaptability. One of the very important jewel in the crown of a leader is that how adaptable to you are with respect to situations, with respect to people, with respect to new processes. So what are the do's? Change your approach when circumstances change. That is the need of the hour. So for example, you have a new manager or you have a new system or you move to a new company. You have to change your approach because the existing approach may not work. And when you have to change, you have to accept people, you have to accept certain situations. Only when you take a grip on it, only then you start speaking or creating those impactful actions that are needed. But if you just go and you just try to put things in your perspective, it's not going to work, because first people have to accept you. And to do that, you have to go to the shoe of the person, understand what are their motives, what are their drives, what motivates them, what are their uh, emotional balances that they are looking out. But what is don't be stubborn to your ways and ignoring. If you're stubborn to your ways, it shows that you are an autocratic leader. You're a leader who is only saying that my way is highway, and people don't accept it, because ultimately it's all people who are driving the business, people who are driving the process, and they are the one who is going and meeting the customer to get the right results. So don't be stubborn. Know your emotions, know their emotions, and bring that adaptability. That how you can gel. Next is influence. Now, how do you influence people? Understand others' desires and motivation first. Spend a lot of time with your people, not just at work, but also beyond work. Sit with them for half an hour, go to their home, sit with their families, call their families for dinner, and then know how they are and create that emotional bonding. Then I can tell you people will go beyond. Surprise them with some recognition by understanding what are their desires, recognize when they are doing well. At the same time, also help them to get more skilled by way of your skill set on any area that you feel that can contribute. People will respect you because you are creating an influence. What you should not be doing is try to dictate or force people to do certain things. As I said, dictators are autocratic leaders. They say that this is the way and the only way to do things. And that's not leadership. And that's where it brings you down on your emotional intelligence. Then it is not EQ, it is IQ. EQ is emotional quotient, and IQ is uh, or sorry, IRQ. IQ is intelligent quotient and RQ is rational quotient. That for every answer, you have a rational because you have all the answers to the question. So if you give all the answers to the questions, that means you have a rational in everything. You are not thinking emotionally. And you need to create a balance of EQ and RQ. And IQ is definitely there because if you have become a leader only because of your IQ, your intelligence was good, that's why you are promoted. You got at a particular place. But what got you here won't take you there because in this role, you have to show not your intelligence, but develop the intelligence of others so that they can bring that results for you. Sociability, as I said, take an interest in others and ask them questions. That means know what are their interest areas, their hobbies, their commonalities. That's where your commonality can happen. So for example, I've seen that one of the managers, he worked very closely with his team, and he understood that his team is very passionate about cricket, as an example. Now, he knew that this is something that will really bond, and he ensured that every quarter they play a match. The manager has taken a special approval from the company, and they do a small match whenever it is possible within the team or with outside. Now, imagine when people are playing like that together in social circles, they are understanding each other much better. As I said, people are people, they are not machine. So know them better. What are their interests? If it is an interest that they want to read books, or somebody has that kind of interest, maybe help them to achieve that. Provide them that environment where they can grow their mindfulness, and then they can share these thoughts with others. But if you blame others for awkwardness, that okay, we are talking about work and you're thinking about cricket. We are talking about work, you're thinking about taking a vacation with your family. Then people will not respect you. People will not gel with you. Then you are just a person who is a machine. You are not human. Human means emotions. Human means you are connecting with people. Next, collaboration. One of the very important skill is collaboration. How well you work with others. That means you share informations, ideas, and credit people of their work rather than taking credit of their work. That's what I'm saying. Fail to see their needs, inputs, and desire. So collaboration. So give you an example. As we are moving into a lot of technology of AI and BI is happening, what is happening very often and consistently is that people are, the organization structures are reducing. You see, there are more flat structures. So let's say I'm in an office in India, I'm reporting to somebody dotted line, but my solid line reporting is in Singapore or in Europe in some office. That means you have to collaborate with a lot of people to make sure that you are successful in what you are delivering. So to do that, you have to really know them very well, understand what are their ideas and give credit rather than you just work superficially. You will not be able to connect with people faster. And last, I would say is appreciation. Recognize great work and say thank you often. I always say that if you are a great leader, it is your duty, job, and responsibility to motivate people by recognizing their effort, by rewarding people, by promoting them, or by doing a lot of appreciation. Even a small word, a chocolate, or a one email line can make a lot of difference, what a huge amount of money cannot. but start catching people doing right things rather than catching them doing wrong things. So what you should not be doing, withhold credit or try to take it yourself. A lot of leaders also have one more habit. They try to take the credit in the meeting where people are at meeting at a leadership level, at a top level. They say, it is me who has made all the difference. It is me who drove this account. This is the customer that I developed. Please come out of this. Even the people at the top, they understand that whether it is done by you or by your people, because their eyes are not closed. Give credit to your people, bring them in front. And the more you bring them in front, what you are doing is you are making the new team ready to replace you, which means you are getting ready for the next level. But if you continue to go and stand and take the trophy and say, I really thankful for my team to who has done this, I don't think so. Then you are a real leader. Then you are an individual contributor. A great leader is known for creating more leaders by giving them more opportunities, by making them accountable, by making them more visible than you yourself. That's what a leader is, according to me. Well, if you look at the whole thing in glance, these are the 15 important areas where if you start practicing it at your day-to-day work, you will surely become a very strong leader because your emotional intelligence is glowing up. It's growing up. It's where people meet people and then they grow together. And this is what is the need of the hour if you really want to become a great leader in your organization. Create a great solid foundation with your team. When your team starts thinking that it's Monday morning and I have to be the first one in the office to give my best, and it's Friday evening, I still want to do more, and it's 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, but it doesn't matter because my boss and I have to achieve together something bigger. And that can only happen when you have very good bonding with your team. So I hope this video would have given you some good insights about what is emotional intelligence, why it is necessary, and what impact it can create in terms of performance and productivity of people, so that you not only perform well, but you become good friends, you become good human beings, you become human rather than a machine or something that is just transactional. Look for transformational. Well, if you really like this video, do write your comment below, because I also am developing a full program, a full detailed program on how to become emotionally intelligent, effective with your team for your success. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching me, and let's catch up soon.